Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going down a rabbit hole that you might not expect.
Oh,
We're talking autism and spiritual gifts, a topic that really pushes the boundaries of how we understand both.
right.
You've given us some fascinating research, and together,
Yeah.
we're going to pull out the juiciest bits.
Awesome.
You've got me hooked already.
Great.
So, before we get too far,
Yeah.
let's make sure we're on the same page.
Right.
When we talk about spiritual gifts in this context,
Right.
what exactly are we talking about? It's not like winning a raffle at a church fundraiser, right?
Definitely not.
Okay.
The sources you provided point to some pretty remarkable abilities.
Okay.
Things like clairvoyance, precognition, clairsentience, and claircognizance.
Okay, those are some big words.
Yep.
Can we break those down a bit?
Sure.
You mentioned clairvoyance first. What does that actually mean in practical terms?
Think of clairvoyance like having an inner screen,
Okay.
where you receive visual information not accessible through normal sight.
Mm.
You might see vivid images or symbols that offer insights into people's situations or even future events.
Okay.
And it's not just anecdotal.
Right.
The source material actually mentions a study
Okay.
where researchers found a statistically significant correlation between clairvoyant experiences and activity in certain parts of the brain.
Okay, now that's really making me think.
Mhm.
And what about precognition?
Yes,
Does that mean seeing the future like in a movie?
it can be a bit like that.
Okay.
Precognition is about having knowledge of future events,
Right.
often through dreams,
Okay.
strong feelings,
Mhm.
or sudden flashes of insight.
Got it.
One of the sources describes it as a sort of knowing
Okay.
that something is going to happen even without any logical explanation.
Hold on, let me wrap my head around that for a second.
Sure.
So you're saying it's less about predicting specific events with perfect accuracy
Right.
and more about having this intuitive sense of what's to come?
Exactly.
Okay.
And the source material emphasizes that these precognitive insights
Right.
can be quite symbolic or metaphorical,
Got it.
requiring interpretation.
So you might not see a literal vision of winning the lottery,
Right.
but you might get a strong feeling of abundance or good fortune coming your way.
Precisely.
Okay.
And that's where clairsentience comes in.
Okay, I'm ready for clairsentience.
Okay.
What's that one all about?
Clairsentience is all about feeling.
Okay.
It's the ability to sense or feel energies, emotions, and atmospheres,
Mm-hmm.
both from people and places.
Got it.
Someone with strong clairsentience might walk into a room and instantly pick up on the emotional tone, even if no one has said a word.
So it's like having a supercharged sense of empathy. You're not just understanding someone's emotions, you're actually feeling them yourself.
Yes. And it can even go beyond emotions.
Wow.
The sources mention people with clairsentience who can sense physical ailments or energy blockages in others.
Wow. We've covered clairvoyance, precognition, and clairsentience.
Great.
We've only got one more of these clairs to go right.
That's right. We still have claircognizance.
Okay.
This one can be a bit tricky to explain,
Okay.
but it's essentially about having a deep inner knowing or
Mhm.
understanding without any logical basis.
Right.
It's like suddenly having the answer to a question pop into your head,
Right.
or knowing something to be true without being able to explain how you know it.
So it's not like remembering a fact you learned in school.
Exactly.
It's more like a sudden download of information or insight that just appeared.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the source material suggests this information can be incredibly accurate and insightful,
Mm.
offering guidance, solutions to problems, or even creative inspiration.
I'm already imagining you, our listener, sitting there thinking, wait, could I have these abilities?
Right.
And that brings us to the heart of this deep dive,
Yes.
the potential link between autism and these extraordinary abilities.
That's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
We're going to explore some real-life examples and delve into the science behind this intriguing connection.
Mm.
One of the sources you shared dives into a theory that really resonated with me. It suggests that autistic individuals might be more attuned
Right.
to subtle energies and vibrations that most people don't consciously perceive.
It's like having a finely tuned antenna
Yes.
that picks up signals beyond the normal range. I love that analogy.
Yeah.
But I also have to admit, a part of me is thinking, okay, but where's the proof?
Right.
You know, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence.
I think that's a perfectly healthy response.
Okay.
It's important to approach these ideas with a critical mind.
Right.
And while the research is still emerging, there are some intriguing findings.
Okay.
For instance, one study mentioned in the source material
Mm-hmm.
found that autistic individuals showed heightened sensitivity to electromagnetic fields.
Okay, now we're talking.
Yeah.
That's a tangible, measurable phenomenon.
Right.
So if we take that idea and apply it to the spiritual realm,
Yeah.
Could it be that what we call spiritual gifts are actually just different ways of perceiving these subtle energies?
That's a fascinating question, and one that researchers are starting to explore.
Okay.
Some scientists believe that what we perceive as the physical world is just a tiny sliver
Right.
of a much broader spectrum of energy and information.
So like the tip of the iceberg.
Exactly. And if autistic individuals are more sensitive to these energies,
Right.
it's possible they're tapping into a realm of perception that most of us are simply not attuned to.
That's a pretty mind-blowing concept.
It is.
But it's not just theory, right? The sources you provided include some compelling personal stories
Yes.
that illustrate this connection. Can you tell us about those?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the stories that really stood out to me
Okay.
was that of Sarah,
Okay.
a 25-year-old woman who experiences clairvoyant visions.
Okay, now that's really making me think.
Yeah.
The source mentions Sarah sees these visions.
Right.
Does it say if she has any control over them? Like, can she seek them out? Or do they just appear? This is where I'd want to dive deeper into the research you've provided.
That's a great question. And it seems Sarah's experiences are often spontaneous.
Okay.
The source material describes her visions as appearing unexpectedly,
Right.
sometimes triggered by specific people or locations.
I wonder if it's like a heightened sense of awareness where her brain is picking up on subtle cues that most of us would miss.
Yeah,
It's almost like having a sixth sense, right?
precisely.
Yeah.
And the source material suggests that Sarah has learned to trust these visions,
Okay.
using them to help others and to navigate her own life.
That's incredible. It sounds like she's not just experiencing these abilities, but she's actually learning to harness them.
Exactly. It highlights a crucial point.
Okay.
These abilities aren't just about passive perception.
Right.
They can be developed and honed with practice.
So you're saying that even if someone isn't consciously aware of having these gifts,
Right.
they might still have the potential to cultivate them.
That's what the source material suggests.
Okay.
And it offers some guidance on how individuals can explore these abilities further.
Okay, I'm all ears. What are some of the key takeaways for our listener who might be thinking,
Right.
all right, this is fascinating, but what can I actually do with this information?
The source emphasizes the importance of mindfulness and meditation
Okay.
as ways to cultivate a deeper connection with your intuition and inner knowing.
So you're saying it's not about trying to force these abilities to emerge, but
Right.
rather about creating the right conditions for them to unfold naturally.
Precisely.
Hmm.
It's like tending a garden.
Right.
You can't force a flower to bloom,
Yeah.
but you can provide the right soil, sunlight, and water to support its growth.
I love that analogy. It makes it feel much less intimidating and more like a process of self-discovery.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the source also stresses the importance of trusting your instincts.
Okay.
That little voice inside that tells you something is right or wrong.
Right.
That could be a manifestation of these heightened sensitivities.
You know, it's funny. I've always considered myself a pretty intuitive person, but I never really connected it to the idea of spiritual gifts or heightened sensitivities. But thinking about it now, there have been times when I've had these gut feelings that turned out to be incredibly accurate even when I couldn't logically explain them.
That's a perfect example of what we're talking about. It's
Yeah.
about learning to pay attention to those subtle signals
Right.
and to trust the wisdom of your inner knowing.
It makes you wonder how many of us are dismissing these intuitive nudges
Right.
as mere coincidence or imagination. What if we're all capable of tapping into this deeper level of perception, even if it manifests in different ways?
That's a profound question, and one that the source material encourages us to explore.
So we've talked about mindfulness meditation and trusting our instincts.
Right.
Are there any other practical steps that the source suggests for exploring these abilities?
Yes, the source mentions finding experienced spiritual practitioners or mentors
Okay.
who can provide support and guidance as you explore this further.
That makes sense. Having a guide can be incredibly helpful when venturing into uncharted territory.
Yes,
But I imagine it's important to be discerning about who you choose to work with.
you're absolutely right.
Right.
It's crucial to approach this with discernment.
Right.
Not everyone who claims to have spiritual insights or healing abilities is genuine.
So how can our listener know who to trust?
The source recommends doing your research, seeking recommendations from trusted sources,
Okay.
and most importantly, trusting your gut feelings.
Okay.
If something feels off or doesn't resonate with you, it's perfectly okay to walk away.
That's a powerful reminder. Ultimately, your spiritual journey is your own.
Yes.
You get to decide what resonates with you and what doesn't.
Right.
But even if someone chooses not to actively pursue these abilities,
Right.
I think there's a really important message here about the unique strengths and perspectives
Yes.
that autistic individuals bring to the world.
Absolutely. This whole conversation speaks to the concept of neurodiversity. It's about recognizing that what might be seen as a difference could actually be a valuable asset.
Yeah.
A different way of experiencing and interacting with the world that has its own unique beauty and potential.
And maybe even a way to tap into a deeper reality that many of us miss.
Perhaps. There's certainly a lot to ponder here.
Yeah.
And that brings us to a final thought-provoking question for our listener to consider.
All right, lay it on me. What's the big question we're leaving our listener with today?
If autism might be linked to this heightened sensitivity,
Yeah.
this different way of perceiving the world, what other hidden talents or potentials are waiting to be explored within neurodiversity?
Whoa. That's a powerful question. It really makes you think about all the possibilities
Right.
that might be out there just waiting to be discovered.
It challenges us to move beyond the deficit-based model of autism
Yeah.
and to embrace the idea that neurodiversity isn't just about differences,
Right.
but about strengths and unique ways of being in the world.
You know what's really resonated with me throughout this deep dive?
Yeah.
Is the idea that we might all have these latent abilities, these untapped potentials within us. Maybe it's not about being autistic or neurotypical,
right.
but about recognizing that we each have our own unique way
Yeah.
of perceiving and interacting with the world.
I think that's a beautiful insight. It's about celebrating the diversity of human experience and acknowledging that what might be seen as a limitation in one context could be a strength in another.
This whole conversation has been such a mind-expanding journey. I don't know about you,
Yeah.
but I'm feeling a sense of wonder and possibility, like a whole new world has opened up.
It's a reminder that there's so much we don't know, so much to explore.
Right.
And who knows, maybe the answers to some of the biggest questions facing humanity lie within the very diversity we're just beginning to understand.
It's almost like we're at the edge of a new frontier, a frontier of human consciousness and potential. And I, for one, am excited to see where this journey leads.
As are we all.
Thanks for joining us on this incredible deep dive. We hope you've enjoyed exploring the fascinating intersection of autism and spiritual gifts. And remember, the journey doesn't end here. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep embracing the beauty of neurodiversity.